all this bleeding, they will all be turned to dust! Anyone tries to hurt my friends, it's gonna pay! This is the true power. Autonomous Ultra Instinct! You understand, don't you?
Okay, so now just when you thought things couldn't get any crazier, we are only now just getting started, and boy, do I have a lot of information to be giving you guys here today, as I wanted to go ahead and showcase the newly developed Primal Ultra Instinct Goku within Xenoverse 2, and not for nothing, based on all of the questions that people have been asking about whether or not Goku is going to be fighting Frieza or Cooler or anything of the sorts, I will be answering that question right now for you all. And for those that are kind of curious and wondering if Black Frieza is in fact stronger than Primal Ultra Instinct Goku, the easy answer to that is no. But at some point during the middle of this story, as of course you guys can see here, Frieza by no means is going to allow for himself to have anyone or anything come in between himself and his plans to conquer everything. And so while both he himself and his brother will be too busy taking on and handling Vegeta, to which as of course you guys can see here as well, by no means is Vegeta going to be an easy opponent for either one of the two to take down by themselves. And so in retrospect, you can only imagine what things would be like if Goku were to be placed within that scenario to fight both Frieza and Cooler if Vegeta already is handling the two by himself. So if you're kind of wondering on whether or not Frieza and Goku are going to battle or even meet, without giving too much away, I will say this much, and that is to expect the unexpected, because you gotta remember that at the very beginning of this series, Frieza's whole shtick is to go after and conquer both Goku and Vegeta before anything else. And so in theory, if he were to somehow, let's just say, and I'm not confirming this, get by Vegeta, then of course the next person that he has to go through is of course going to be inevitably Goku before having to proceed in carrying out with his actions. And so basically everything that you just saw right now would be the outcome if Goku were to fight Black Frieza. So with that being said, I have a whole hell of a lot more to share with you guys, so let's not waste any more time now and jump into the next fight to see exactly what it is that we have coming up next. Now you might be wondering how Vegeta and Goku are able to stack up against the God of Destruction of Universe 7 right now, Lord Beerus, and to say this, by no means in this story are Goku and Vegeta now weaker than him, because while wielding Mastered Ultra Ego and of course Primal Ultra Instinct, I can now safely and confidently say that at least within this story, Goku and Vegeta are far beyond what Beerus is currently. But of course, like everything else, there are still many stages that they're going to be going through and will be going through, to which I will be touching up on a little later on. But in case anyone was within that camp to suggest that Beerus was stronger than both of them, still, that I could confidently say could not be further from the truth, as I am going to admit right now that Beerus is giving me a little bit of a hard time, but I can only now imagine that I will beat him by the end. And so there will in fact be an interaction between the two, if anything, to which as of course you guys can see here, yet another preview. Keep in mind that Beerus had never seen Goku wield Primal Ultra Instinct before, and so when Beerus actually goes as far as to see Goku now for the first time wielding such power, you can only go as far as to imagine his reaction, because of course, well, he'd be pissed nevertheless. So with that being said, now let's go on ahead and jump into the next fight that we have coming, because boy oh boy do we have a lot to talk about. Okay, now see, this one is going to be very interesting because I want to go on ahead now and clarify just a few things that people may be wondering. And so, first and foremost, right off the gate before anything else, just because Goku ends up finding a way to eliminate said opponent from the tournament that he's competing in doesn't inherently automatically mean that Goku is far beyond any of the top 5 strongest, because if anything, as this may come as a shock to you all, Goku is still inferior to that of Budo, Akuma, Yoshito, Takira, and within the very world of Dragon Ball, indeed such things as a ring out or a submission do apply as a legitimate means of victory over the opposition, which also goes as far as to showcase a fighter's skill level, intelligence, and adaptability during the course of fighting someone stronger, to which case in point, just like during the Tournament of Power when Frieza and Goku eliminated Jiren, just because the two of them had to gang up on Jiren together did not inherently mean that Frieza or Goku were in fact stronger than Jiren, but instead, they solely relied heavily on a tactical-like approach in taking Jiren down together, and of course from that point securing the victory for their said universe. So if anything, before Takeda had decided to swap out with Yoshito upon having to see the halo around Goku's neck, there was no possible way that Goku would have found himself beating Yoshito, especially with Yoshito being able to split himself into two, mainly because if he tried to ring Yoshito out, that wouldn't work, and even if he were to attempt some kind of a submission on top of that, of course given Yoshito's resiliency, that wouldn't have worked either. So with that being said now, let's not waste any more time and jump into the next fight, because not for nothing, this one is going to be extremely interesting. Now, I think it's safe to say that a lot of people are indeed looking forward to seeing Goku battle against Akira, especially now after Akira had gone as far as to address the fact that number one, he was able to actually see something that both Whis and the Grand Priest were also able to see during the midst of Goku's battle against Yoshito. So if you go as far as to put two and two together, I think we all know what's about to happen, to which not only is this going to be Goku's toughest battle, but at the same time it's going to be a battle to prove Goku's survival instincts and seeing how far he can actually last, because by no means is this going to be some kind of a fight to which Goku can have the upper hand on, because as of course you guys can see, he clearly doesn't appear to be in control whatsoever, and I think that a lot of us can agree that Akira is going to be Goku's toughest opponent outside of the Grand Priest if he in fact ends up clearing through Akira and making it that far. So you can only go as far as to imagine how brutal and how painful this fight with Akira is going to be coming up, because among all of the warriors that are currently within the tournament realm, Akira is in fact the quietest among them, because not only do his personality traits establish him as being a cool, calm, collected, and serious fighter, but each of them in fact actually have their own characteristics and their own traits that they give off that we've seen go down during these fights. And so given how Akira was indeed able to watch Goku fight against three separate and different opponents while actually progressing, minus of course with Yoshito, since of course Akira went as far as to tag in, this now only puts into question on whether or not Goku's going to win, if he's going to call for one of his perks, or if something else entirely is going to go down that's going to shift the overall momentum of this battle involving Goku and Akira. So I've said this before, and so I'm going to say it again, expect the unexpected, only because I don't think that you guys are going to see what's about to happen actually unfold, and to that I think a lot of you guys are really going to enjoy what you're about to see. And I'm not gonna lie to you right now, I really wasn't expecting for Akira to be this difficult to take down, because I know that among the others he is the strongest, clearly by far, but I was hoping that by now I would be able to maybe take him down or do something of the sorts to actually win this, but I don't think that as I'm progressing here, I'm going to make much of a difference unless I end up transforming again. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I think that when that happens, if that happens, depending on if Goku advances or not, you guys are really going to enjoy a lot of what's about to happen, especially, I would say, towards the very, very end of this entire story, only because if you haven't noticed, the Omni Kings have been absent, and so they've been absent for a very, very long time, and you're going to find out why. You're going to get their reaction after they end up learning about Goku's battle with the top 5, after learning more about what Vegeta had been up to, and the Omni Kings, to some extent, are going to be a little upset, but also it's going to tie into what's about to happen next, and that's going to be, I think, very, very important. I cannot beat this dude. He just refuses to go down. I mean, not for nothing, this kind of goes as far as to demonstrate what's about to take place, because it's going to be... Did we actually get him? Hold on, let me see. Okay, we finally was able to take him down. I was about to say, he is not budging. So with that being said now, let's go on ahead and continue to push forward in jumping into the next fight that we have coming up, because not for nothing, a lot of you guys have been asking me specifically more or less about this, and so I think it's about time now that we go as far as to address this, because I know for a fact that a lot of you guys are curious on the following fight in which you're about to see. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I have absolutely no idea on where the concept between finding out who is stronger involving both Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta and Primal Ultra Instinct Goku, since many people seem to have a bias for one over the other, and the simple answer that I have to that question is I'm going to leave that up to you guys to decide and leave that open to interpretation, because the entirety of the top 5 story is to go as far as to tell the tale and perspectives involving 3 specific characters, which of course, if you don't know by now, those 3 characters happen to be Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza. And so rather than wanting to see them fight, which you will, and I will say this much, it won't happen in this story, but rather in the next, wink wink nudge nudge, but it's not really going to be in the way you think it is, and I'm only going to say that much without having to give too much away. But I think to put things into perspective, instead of wanting to see them fight, or at least comparing the two, I think that a lot of people should be instead rooting for Goku and rooting for Vegeta, rooting for the heroes in this case, because each of them seem to be going through their own trials and tribulations, and even going as far as to train differently as well. So of course, both of them do have unique traits about their powers and their transformations that are of course different, which of course was the established goal from the very beginning in making them different. So either way to that, you guys can let me know on who you personally think is stronger between Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta and Primal Ultra Instinct Goku. And so if there's one thing that you guys have to keep in mind, it's that Goku went down his own path to train to be where he is, whereas Vegeta had also done the same thing. So the goal here is to make them different. They're not both going to have tails, they're not both going to have similar transformations, but instead the entire goal was to make them different from the very beginning. So take that and interpret it as you will, because with that being said, now let's go on ahead and jump into the next fight that we have coming up next, because not for nothing, I think that if there was ever going to be an interesting concept behind the battle, I think the one that you're about to see would be just that. Okay, so not for nothing, never say never here, but can you imagine how crazy a scenario like this would be? So introducing Primal Ultra Instinct Goku and Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta battling against Ranking Warrior number 4 Akuma and Ranking Warrior number 3 Yoshito, which I'm not gonna lie right now, I'm a little nervous only because I don't know if our characters are gonna be able to either go the distance or maintain our health long enough to survive this, because I think one of them, I'm not entirely sure if it's Yoshito or Akuma, has more health than both of us. But what I would like to know from you guys down in the comment section below is, let's just say in the future, if we were ever to see a scenario like this play out, would you guys want to see Goku and Vegeta team up to battle against the top 5, or would you rather have something else come into play here? Because not for nothing, the overall dynamic involving said characters would be insane, and personally for me, if I were ever to pit up 2 characters against each other, I would definitely pit up Budo versus Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta, only because of course they're both very prideful, and I'm gonna have to stay focused right now, because one slip up and I think that if I fall or if Vegeta falls, that's going to spell the end for the other character. So that's definitely not the position that I want to go ahead and find myself in. And just in case you're kind of wondering about fusion, you can only go as far as to imagine how strong a hypothetical Vegeta or even Gogeta would be by taking both of these powers and merging it into one together by either having a Primal version or a Mastered Ultra Ego version, in which to that you guys can let me know as to how strong a hypothetical fusion like that would be by comparison to any of the top 5, minus I think the Grand Priest for obvious reasons. And so this fight is chaotic, I'm not gonna lie, because everyone's all over the place, and I was actually really strongly considering on doing something like this when I first started the story, but I also wanted to kind of diverge in, like I said earlier, creating a pathway for both characters to grow on their own before, of course, later, way later down the line, we end up seeing something new and different from the both of them that's going to lead them down the same path and essentially working together, right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I'm actually very tempted on letting you guys know exactly what happens towards the end of this entire story, because everything that you guys have seen thus far is only going to essentially serve as being a very small piece to a much larger puzzle, and I think that you guys are really going to enjoy what we have coming, especially once this is over and done with. But to that, I just can't wait to unravel and show you guys everything as, of course, it unfolds, to which finally we were able to beat these guys, because not for nothing, I was really thinking that we were going to lose here, just because these guys I think have higher stats than us. But needless to say, with all that out of the way now, let's go on ahead and jump into our very final fight of the video because not for nothing, once again, this has been a recurring question that so many people have been asking me about, and so I want to go in ahead now and give you guys the answer to a very interesting and long-awaited question that many people have been asking ever since the beginning of the series. Okay, so now this one ought to be interesting because I often get this question a lot on whether or not Merno is in fact still stronger than any of the characters shown in the top 5 strongest in the multiverse story, and to simply put it in the easiest way possible, the answer to that is in fact yes, and that is only because not only are the 2 stories involving Merno's story and the story of the top 5 strongest 2 separate stories entirely, but when having to take a look at the overall scope of things and seeing who is in fact actually able to rival Merno in battle, the only other individual that was shown having to do so was none other than the Grand Priest, and so by no means do any of the others, which happen to include Black Frieza, Platinum Cooler, Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta, Primal Ultra Instinct Goku, Yoshito, Budo, Akuma, or Takira, would even come close in remotely being able to stop Merno. So yes, the answer to that is Merno is still stronger than everyone, but without giving too much away, I will say this much: I am planning on one day continuing the story of the top 5 strongest once it's done. So to put things into perspective, yes, there will be a sequel at some point, which I've already written down and kind of have a layout to, and with everything that I have within my notes, that story in and of itself is going to be so crazy that not only am I going to bridge that continuity with some of my other stories, but by the time we end up reaching that point where I finally come out and preview the first ever trailer or teaser to the top 5 strongest sequel, I think by then with some of the new characters I plan on introducing are already going to be established as being stronger than Merno, and that's as far as I'm going to go. So you can make no mistake about the fact that Primal Goku and Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta I think would do better than the respective Goku and Vegetas we've seen in the Merno story go up against Merno. But to sum it up, basically what you're looking at right now is pretty much what would happen if Primal Ultra Instinct Goku did in fact actually fight Merno. But either way, I'm actually trying to defeat him, and it's a lot harder than I thought this was going to be because I know that Merno in this game is essentially unbeatable, right? And so I'm trying to do my best without having to tap into my new form, which I will preview relatively soon. And so I'm trying to do my best to get the better of him, but not only is he avoiding every single one of my attacks, but I think that I'm basically done for by the end of this. So no, Primal Goku and all of the characters shown in the top 5 strongest story are not stronger than Merno, but I can promise you guys this much, and that is by the time we end up actually reaching the point where the sequel comes out, I am going to introduce, oh my god, and I'm dead. Wonderful, right? I am going to introduce characters that are going to even far supersede that of Merno once the sequel ends up coming out, and just in case you're kind of wondering, I don't have a time frame as to when that's going to be, but all I ask you guys in return is to simply be patient. So to that, I do want to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so very much for your time once again. To where, as always, if you also happen to be new to this channel, then I do encourage you all to head on over and smash that subscribe button on top of giving this video a big fat thumbs up by smashing that like button down below. Tune back in for more. And with all that being said, I want to thank you all once again, and I'll be seeing each and every single one of you down in the comment section below and in the next video. Take it easy, everybody, and have a great day. Peace.